I know we've done a brief introduction already, but I think just for the sake of my listeners and my viewers, I just wanted you to briefly give us a summary of your background, a summary of the background of your company, and particularly that light bulb moment that led to the creation of Stardust Power Inc.
Yeah, happy to. And, first of all, it's great to be with you today. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Jacob. Thanks for talking with me.
You're welcome.
So, a little bit about my background. I'm Roshan Pujari, the CEO founder of Stardust Power. And my background is as an entrepreneur and investor. So, I started my first group of companies in my 20s in commodities. We were trading coffee. And then at around 31 years old, I founded a boutique investment firm, Vicasa Capital, and we started investing in global markets, a large focus on India. But in 2018, I started looking at the unique space of American lithium brine assets. And from there, we became very active in the space, making multiple investments. And what we saw is what a lot of people saw is that the world needs a lot of battery grade lithium to meet the energy transition demands. Most of the lithium is, being refined in China. But what we saw was the critical gap in the supply chain was refining capacity. And that's when we had the light bulb moment to found Stardust Power, which is focusing on that critical gap of the supply chain being lithium refining.
That's a good one, and I think to your point, obviously, there's been a lot of talk around just diluting Chinese influence in the critical minerals market, because obviously, as we know, most of the refining capacity has been going to China, which I think makes your business proposition very exciting because I think you're trying to do something unique, something that has not been done before, which is great. So when I was looking at your website, I realized that you have a target production capacity of 50,000 metric tons per annum. How is that looking like? And are there any specific timelines that people should know about from you getting the permit to moving into production?
Yeah, great question. So as you mentioned, we're building a really big lithium refinery that has the capacity of 50,000 tons per annum when at full capacity. And we're doing that in a phased approach to mitigate risk. So phase one will build the first production line of 25,000 tons per annum. And then once completed, or we decide to move forward on the second one, we can build its sister line, another 25,000 ton line that would give us some efficiencies and scale using engineering. And of course, we'll adapt lessons learned from the first train. So yeah, we're looking to build a really big lithium refinery in Muskogee, Oklahoma. So as you noticed, we have reached several of our critical milestones. We own our site in Southside Industrial Park. We are now permitted to start major construction. And recently, just a few weeks back, we had a groundbreaking. That was a wonderful event, really well attended by the state of Oklahoma, with the lieutenant governor being there making remarks, as well as the local community with the mayor and former mayor of Muskogee there, really highlighting the extensive community support that we have. So when we think about our project, the next kind of key milestone is finishing our definitive engineering. We've engaged Primero USA, we see as a leader in that space. And we seek to have that finished, by the end of this quarter or early next quarter. And then we can start the project finance timeline. As you might have read as well, we've engaged MUFG, one of the world's largest banks, as our lead financial advisor. And we've been hard at work with them to finance this critical piece of American infrastructure. And so as we do the project finance, typically we see it takes 18 to 24 months to build these things, the first line. We've been thoughtful to help reduce that timeline by looking at long lead items, which we see as transformers, as well as crystallizers. We have strategic partnerships in the area. So, we've already done some initial construction at the site. So we've been thoughtful to try to reduce that timeline, but we also want to be conservative in the way we look at it.
That's so interesting. So, just out of curiosity, why did you pick on Oklahoma?
Well, we're really happy with our location in Oklahoma. The shovel-ready site is already connected to major highway, major rail, and sits on the largest inland waterway system in the United States. So really perfect for our hub and spoke model, multimodal logistics. And its strategic location being in the center of the country is also great for that hub and spoke model. So we can source raw materials from anywhere in North America, as well as source offtake from anywhere in North America. Oklahoma, as a legacy energy producer, is very industry friendly. So we have an excellent relationship with the state of Oklahoma, the community in Muskogee. The Oklahoma Department of Commerce have given us analysis of over $250 million in largely state incentives that may be available to us to develop our project there. And Oklahoma has a skilled workforce in oil and gas engineering that we think could be a great fit for that. And to be fully transparent, I grew up in Oklahoma and I knew what we have there and the relationships with the government. So we're really excited to call Oklahoma home of our refinery.
So nice to hear. So when I read through some of the articles online, obviously we've had quite a number of companies in the battery market, in the lithium market, that have been trying to come up, do one or two things to just help stabilize the supply chain. How different is what Stardust Power is doing?
Yeah, we think we're pretty unique in our business model. First, we're optimizing the large central refinery for multiple sources of brine input so we can aggregate supply and scale manufacturing up to 50,000 tons per annum. And this is a unique approach, but it is not novel by any means. Sourcing some from brine makes this process a little bit easier because we can remove the contaminants, whether it's upstream or at our midstream refinery. What we've done is we've been thoughtful to put engineering and invest capex in the front of the train so we can have a really robust head of the train that can accept a lot of these different type of inputs. So I think it just takes a little bit of planning and forethought. Also, by creating efficiencies, by using our large central site, we can reduce capex, increase efficiencies, and make it more profitable. So by really being thoughtful to how we can scale in the future and investing in that plan now, we have a strong business plan to scale manufacturing.
You made a very important point, which for me I think could be one of your biggest competitive advantage. Most of the refineries that I've seen across the world, it's either they only take in a specific type of raw material. And the fact that you are able to aggregate different blends, I think, puts you in a position where you are able to create a more sustainable supply chain of lithium. Would you consider that as one of your biggest competitive advantages?
We do see that as a tremendous competitive advantage. We see a lot of people developing lithium refineries in these disparate locations where they're tied to a single source, and that increases risk because but by aggregating, we can diffuse that risk and scale manufacturing even more. So not only have we created a robust matrix of acceptable inputs, but we've also been thoughtful to building infrastructure to blend, to repulp and dilute, so we can take multiple approved feedstocks and create a consistent feedstock for our production line. So by being thoughtful in advance, we're able to do these things. And that's what it's really going to need to develop the North American supply chain is taking from multiple sources. In North America, lithium grades may not be as high as South America, but if we aggregate all the bountiful raw materials we have, we can for sure get there.
That's very true. So what you're doing is different, never been done before, first of its kind. What does this really mean for the battery market, the US in general, and just for the lithium supply chain?
Yeah, we see our project as a critical piece of infrastructure. So not only in creating battery grade lithium products essential for the energy transition, but also unlocking the upstream raw material market. So in previous iterations, smaller raw material developers might not have the path to economic profitability because they can only develop 2 or 3 thousand tons of LCE. But by aggregating supply, we allow these smaller developers to have a home for their products and building a more robust supply chain in the United States. And that's why we see this more as a piece of infrastructure for the North American market than just an individual project. We really want to develop an ecosystem in North America that can meet our energy demands for a long time coming.
Excellent. Your proposition, your product, and just your strategy in general has created a lot of interest in the market. I know for a fact that you've already started signing all these non-binding offtake agreements. How does that look like? Do you see yourselves meeting all this demand in the long term?
We do. We're really excited about strong offtake partners showing the incredible interest in our products and what we're doing at Stardust. We look to be a leading developer of battery grade lithium, but that will only get us so far. We'll need to build an entire ecosystem and supply chain. Given our model, there's opportunities to scale manufacturing potentially even beyond 50,000 tons in the future as we identify and acquire more sources of raw materials. But we see ourselves as a critical piece of the overall supply chain.
Brilliant. And I think for me, when I read about all these nice things happening in the market, the first question that comes in my mind is, how long is this beautiful company going to be around? Because I think we've seen a lot of players in the market come and go. Is there any solid strategy from your end which would just assure the market of how sustainable your approach to the lithium market is?
It's a lot of different factors go into that decision, but we are nearing a point of final investment decision, which really entrenches the company, solidifies it as a leading developer of American resource. So we are fast approaching that resource at that point, and we see it as a critical inflection point. We've been moving our project ahead so quickly that it surprises a lot of people, but meeting that FID point really goes a long way. And also, we've been really supported by the state government, working with the federal government, working with investors. In just a period of maybe 21, 22 months, we've been able to raise approximately $35 million in financing of multiple forms, showing the incredible interest in our project. So as we start building this thing, you'll see that we're built to last.
You are doing all these amazing things at a time when we really require a lot of in-house capacity. And I think what I mean by that is obviously we've heard of all these tariff wars going around across the world, geopolitics and things like that. So that essentially pushes us now into a space where we need to start building this internal capacity, building the supply chain in-house and not really just relying on the external market. Now, one of the biggest concerns in the market obviously has been labor. There are very few people who are qualified to work with this type of technology that you're about to deploy. How are you navigating that?
That's a great question. And labor, skilled workforce is a key ingredient to success. And that is another reason we really like Oklahoma as a jurisdiction, because they have a legacy skilled workforce in oil and gas engineering. When we think about brine refining, there are a lot of similarities to oil and gas engineering. So we can draw upon that established workforce for the hundreds of jobs we'll create in Muskogee, Oklahoma, when at full capacity. So that's the advantage of our site. We're working with the local community in advance for training for these specific jobs so they can be educating the skilled workforce of tomorrow So we're being thoughtful during that construction and ramp up period to be training new workers for our facility as well.
Brilliant. I wanted to briefly put you on the spot. There's a lot of speculation in the market with regards to the future of clean energy technologies. Is there any assurance that you can provide to your would-be clients and just clean energy enthusiasts like myself?
Another great question. There's a lot of speculation about what could happen and what may happen. But what we do know is this, is there is a lot of demand and projected demand for battery grade lithium. Not only for electric vehicles, which increases sales week over week, month over month, but for handheld electronics, the kind that the military has become so dependent on. So the demand and projected demand is of lithium is substantial, and we don't see that diminishing in the short or medium or long term. We know that this phase of electrification of the global economy is largely dependent on lithium. In the future, other chemistries may prevent itself, but we see the infrastructure being developed currently, the gigafactories, the battery technology and such, all highly dependent on lithium.
Yeah, that's very true, and it's so comforting to hear that. At least it gives us an overall perspective in terms of how the future looks like and many other things. So, in the next 5, 10 years, where do you see Stardust Power Inc?
We seek to be a leading producer of battery grade lithium products. 5 to 10 years, we should have both lines producing and really making a favorable impact on American energy leadership.
Very nice having you on the podcast, Roshan. I really do appreciate your input, your expertise on this particular subject. And I think it's just so comforting to see people doing things that have never been done before. And I can only wish you the very best in your endeavors.
Thank you so much, Jacob. Wonderful to be with you. And thanks for all you do in the sector professionally and this podcast as well. I really enjoyed talking with you today.
I appreciate it. Thank you. You have a beautiful day.
You too.
All right. Bye bye.